All right, here we are, Tim Moore, Freedom, Pennsylvania, and that new Bright native I was talking about earlier, Billy Mahan. We're with the Nittany Lions at Penn State, third in the country, 10-0 in the conference, win recently against, who was it?
Penn State Fayette.
Penn State Fayette, and they've got New Kensington coming up on January 20th. And you've got players from all over. Before we talk to the head man, how's it been, this experience? The guy's done a little bit of everything in the way of coaching to work with this young man from Freedom.
It's great. Working with young adults that are here for the right reason, want their education, but still want to play the game they love. And they come to work. We keep them about 2 hours, let them be a college student for 22 hours. It's worked out well.
So what's the USCAA? What is that?
So USCA, the easiest way to probably describe it is like a subdivision of NCAA Division III.
Okay.
So we follow all the NCAA D3 rules, regulations as far as academic, eligibility requirements, everything like that. But for NCAA, you have to have like 10 sports. So for the smaller schools that don't have 10 sports, there's the USCAA. So, it's Division III for small schools, gives us, opportunity to compete on a national level. We have our own national championship, and just play against other schools that are our size and comparable.
All right, we're going to talk a little X and O's later, but this is more about family, community, and how much we love basketball at all levels. Now, I told these two gentlemen moments ago, two of my children, Robbie and Eva, actually went through Penn State Beaver, the branch, 4-year degrees, very friendly to the pocketbook, no student debt, great degrees out in the workforce. My daughter just getting started, my son already doing incredible stuff at FedEx. It works, does it not, Mr. Mahan?
Absolutely. I went to CCBC. I think Coach Moore came here. I think the 2 years that it was a great stepping stone. And now I know we have a lot of local players and students that come out debt-free or darn near any debt at all.
Brag on this place a little bit, Coach.
Man, I'll tell you what, I grew up a Pitt fan.
We all did.
Followed Penn State, but I can honestly say, Penn State's where it's at. Just learning, especially as a young coach coming through, learning about the alumni base and the alumni associations and, how well known Penn State is across the country, and having the opportunity to do it for little to no cost, at a small branch campus. When I was here, it was only a junior college. We could only stay for 2 years. Now students have the opportunity to stay on this campus for 4 years, play the sport of their choosing for 4 years. It's just a great opportunity, and I think so many, especially local kids, miss out on that opportunity because they want to say, I want to go away, I want to get out of Beaver County, which I understand, but you can get out of Beaver County after you graduate. You take that Penn State education to Florida, Texas, California, across the pond. Everybody knows it, and you have a great chance of getting hired just based off of that, off of that degree.
Tim Moore, Freedom grad, 1996. Billy Mahan, a few more years earlier than that at New Brighton. Also had an incredible career as a coach. We're going to spend a little time on that, but I want to kind of focus on this team a little bit. And you were just showing me a team picture out in the hallway, throwing out names that I remember during my play-by-play days, like Kent McKinley and others. Talk about this lineup, and really, it's incredible where some of these young student athletes have matriculated from, Billy.
It is really our point guards from San Antonio, Texas. We have a shooting guard from Westinghouse, another shooting guard from another school in Texas. Our bigs from California. Our forwards are from various parts of the country. So it is nice. We have a couple Pittsburgh girls, an Ohio girl, and then the rest are spread out across the country.
I know O'Hara had 16 and 17 boards in that win against Fayette, but talk about some of the other players a little bit, Coach.
Everybody here is just special. We spend a lot of time recruiting and watching film and, trying to bring in girls that fit our system and bringing them in for the right reasons. And, they get here and, I think they flourish. Sometimes, a lot of times, they even go beyond our expectations that we have for them. So, that says a lot about, who they are as individuals and how hard they work when they get here. But, Danny Guzman coming from Texas, last year as a freshman was a USCA All-American as a freshman. You look at her stat sheet and, just average, an average stat sheet, but, all the little things that she does, that you can't coach. Yesterday we're playing Hazleton, we're up 3 with, just a few minutes left. We full court press, and she's on the inbounder, steals 2 inbounds passes in a row, scores, gets an and one, we're up 3 to up 7, just like that. Just little things that you can't coach, and that's what I love about these girls. They come in, they work hard, they play their role, and they do what's best for the team.
I love this whole thing that is academics and athletics and giving young student athletes to play at that next tier and to give them that opportunity. There's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I don't think I've been in this gym in a long, long time, but they just did a nice little facelift here. This is a special place, man, Billy.
It really is. It just coming, and across actually the State College, or Penn State has done a nice job across the state. A lot of the gyms we play at are very nice. And the upgrades, I mean, it's not, obviously you don't have the amenities of D1, but it's certainly a good place to play.
Okay, now, Freedom actually got their first win of the year against our alma mater.
Yes.
So let's just kind of put the cards on the table. And I just talked to Coach Keaton, because I love high school basketball. We, of course, the Allegheny Health Network Sports Medicine Friday night game of the week. Shout out to my dear friend, Dr. Mayo, head of the orthopedics division in AHN, and of course, team physician of the Pirates. And we always have the opposing coaches from the Friday night game on the Coons Market, Black and Gold Sunday show of Coons Market. Great association with them. We have a location right here in Hopewell, Beaver County. But high school basketball has obviously evolved. And I was talking to Coach Keaton down there in Rochester. You got private schools now, and it's just different. You got AAU, you got traveling teams. Back in the day when you were coaching these kids through New Brighton, who were having tremendous seasons with Dan O'Neill, they were on the playgrounds. They were building that bond. You being at Freedom almost 30 years ago. So what's happening to the face of high school hoops in this country, in your opinion, Billy?
There's so many things to think about. Obviously in Beaver County, the decline of the population. They just don't have the numbers that they used to have. But as you mentioned, playing on the playgrounds, a friend of mine that was an assistant coach the last time we were at New Brighton said that his generation failed the younger generation by not getting them to the playgrounds and playing against them. I thought it was a great point. Just because you knew when you went to the playground, one bad shot, one bad game, and you were going to sit for an hour. And the places throughout the Beaver County, the Monaca swimming pool, Midland, Beaver Falls at 15th Street. I mean, if you went there and played, you better be ready to play. And that no longer exists.
Listen, so Monaca, and this is way before your time, but Washington Avenue, down there by my old Catholic church and that community and the pool. Brad Davis, Mickey Davis, Billy Zoff, all these guys go to the NBA from Monaca, a population of maybe 8,000 at its height, right? Now, you look in Midland, the 65 team, Simi Hill, Norm Van Leer, names through the years like McGlure and George Green and Kirby, and it just goes on, Kuzma, Bukowski. It's changed, and then you think of Frank Chan, comes from Liverpool, who goes to Beaver Falls, Gary Gooseby, Oscar Jackson, Maurice Lucas at Shenley. And then you and I were having a text message conversation. You'll appreciate this, Coach. So I bring this up on my show last night because of Mike White. Dwight Clay, who goes to Fifth Avenue, actually is the guy 50 years ago that sinks the shot that stops the 88 game winning streak of Bill Walton and John Wooden's UCLA Bruins while he's a member of Notre Dame and Digger Phelps' Fighting Irish team. I never knew that. But we really have a lot of history here in Western Pennsylvania. And you said to me last night, I think I watched that in my mother or grandmother's living room, and I think I did the same thing. I remember watching that shot, and I never knew that guy was from Fifth Avenue. And I had just literally weeks before been on Center Avenue out in front of Fifth Avenue High School, which is no longer, almost shedding tears thinking of rich history. I don't think people realize when the mills were booming, and Nick Alloy told me these stories, the great Nick Alloy, that Alloy family, when he played Midland before he went to Bowling Green, he said it was nothing. Midland Avenue in the summertime, the guys working in the mill would come out 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning to have their lunch. They'd put the headlights of the car onto the court, and these guys would be playing basketball in the middle of the summertime, like early in the morning. That's how much we loved basketball. And it's been a long time since we've had these Division I players, actually more women Division I players.
Yes.
So that's why what you're doing here has never been more important, Billy.
I agree. And truthfully, I think you touched on it. I think the women's game in Beaver County is surpassed over from top to bottom. I think there's some good players on almost every team in Beaver County.
Coach, you agree with that?
100%. I've been in the women's game for the last 22 years or so, and just seeing how it's evolved and the amount of Division I and Division II girls that have come out of even just here in Beaver County over that time is really impressive, and I probably far more than the guys.
Have you been watching this Caitlin Clark from Iowa? Guys,
Yes. Just shake your head.
Special.
Yeah.
superstar
Yes.
and team player.
Yeah.
And look, I've been a fan of the WNBA for a long time, and you look at the Las Vegas Sparks, they're starting to play above the rim a little bit now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about what you do, and I've only done one state championship in my entire career, over 20 years of play-by-play. It was 1987, I was at Ohio State with the Wellsville women, and they lost by a couple of points. But I started to really appreciate, obviously, relationship with Susie McConnell-Serio, still one of the greatest coaches I've ever seen coach a high school basketball or any game in the way of basketball. But I love the pureness of it, the dedication, the quality, how they set things up a little bit more. It's not flying from one end to the next. And I think long before the three-point shot became such a big deal, women were using that arc shot better and more beautifully than anyone else. You're a student of the game, you're a student of the game. Am I far off when I say there's a little bit more basketball to women's basketball than men's basketball?
100%. Fundamentally, I mean, the high flying just doesn't exist in the women's game at our level, especially in the high school level. So they have to execute. So they have to have the skills, the shooting, of course, but the ball handling, the passing. It's on display every play.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I think just he pretty much said it, but I think the basketball IQ, on the girls' side, is just so much better, just because of like you said, the lack of they can't play above the rim, and it's not all about, hey, look at me. I think the women still understand, like, hey, it takes a team to win, and they understand if they play together and they support one another and they play hard for each other, that there's a much better outcome in the long run.
So can I tell you who I caught up with the other night? You'll appreciate this. Dante Calabria. We got to keep it Italian here. Mr. Calabria always corrects me on that. But anyway, what a player he was. North Carolina, goes to Italy for all these years, does what he does. And now I'm reading the Post-Gazette one day, and he's coaching Bethel Park.
Yeah.
And he comes to the Ambridge Christmas tournament, and I'm thinking about, obviously the 67 team in Wysick and all the history, just this area. What was it like growing up and playing Dawes Gym, Beaver County, which is now that library? Just talk to me a little bit about what it was like growing up in New Brighton in the 60s.
The Midland team that you mentioned earlier, New Brighton had a really
Did you
good.
watch them play?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, New Brighton had a very good team with the Sheffields and John Bean, John Farthing. The line from the door was back the walkway, down the sidewalk to where the old library was at 5:30. I mean, it was incredible. Kuzma had his oxygen tank and his flashcards. I mean, they were good. Al Hill, who was from New Brighton, has passed away. They called him Little Simmy because New Brighton played right with them. Probably the best game Midland had that year was against New Brighton at New Brighton.
Listen, Coach, I'm a little biased, but I don't know if I'm sure you do. This man's business in mind when it comes to basketball. He's brilliant. Some of the players that you and Dan O'Neill, when I was talking to Sean about this, and I am a little biased. I want my Lions to start winning again. I love New Brighton. Do you realize Gabe Jackson, Chris Pipkin, John Walker, Sean Keaton, you were there as a young man.
Keith Wolfgang.
Yeah.
Albie Hill.
What a name.
Yeah.
To this day, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Do you realize the talent you had on that team?
Absolutely. 2,000-point scorers on that team. Gabe was young, but Chris was a 2,000-point scorer. Then Gabe surpassed him. Gabe played at Robert Morris, played in the NCAA tournament against Arizona.
Well, let me ask you this, and I understand the old Sewell Center, love Robert Morris. Andy Toole, dear friend, been up there doing some videos with him, UPMC Event Center. If Gabe Jackson plays football, does he play Sundays in the NFL?
He did play high school ball.
I mean, no, I'm talking.
But, yeah,
was he that good, or was he better?
He was that skilled. I don't think Gabe had the mentality to be a professional football player.
If he's a little bit taller, is he in the NBA?
If he was a little nastier, he would have been.
Speaking like a true coach.
Yeah, Gabe. Football-wise, I saw him take a kickoff return against Steel Valley. I think it was Charlie Batch's team that Gabe took about 80 yards to open the game. Yeah, he could have been an incredible football talent, and Gabe was, as much as he scored, Gabe wasn't smooth. He had like an awkward shot. It was more of a push shot, but he was really a dog on the basketball court.
Billy, do you remember seeing them as young kids growing up and realizing this could be something special? Do you remember, was there a moment in time, or did it just kind of happen and here we go?
No, I really don't. Not with that group. The group I had later, I saw them coming all the way up through.
Talk about that group later.
That was with Coach Williams, who is the men's coach here.
Right.
Jeremy Sheffield. Marcus was a 1,000-point scorer at LaRoche. Jeremy Sheffield and Joe Kirshner both went to Geneva. Joe ended up at LaRoche. Jared Girello played at W&J.
You had a nice ride with them.
Yeah, we did. We had a real good. And I think we were better balanced than that classic New Brighton team. Obviously, they had that star power.
Right.
But so yeah, I saw them all the way from 6th grade up.
Chris Pipkin's the best to ever play basketball in New Brighton. I know the Sheffields are still the first family, and I know that. But even Jim Deep, the late Jim Deep, had my back on this at the Chuck Better's holiday tournament, CCBC, when I put him like up there. I've never seen anybody with that skill set, with the ability to leap the way he could leap. I mean, he literally, I think, invented hang time in high school basketball.
Unbelievable. I vividly see Albie Hill throwing a half-court lob, and Chris was above the square and caught it. It was at the Dome, and that place was buzzing for a minute afterwards. Was just still, the noise level was incredible.
Now, I'm not saying Freedom didn't have some good basketball players.
Well,
Come on now.
Come on. We don't have to sugarcoat it. No, back
Okay.
in the day.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's just be
Yeah.
honest. We want to be true to our school. And my oldest son, Tyler's mom, graduated from Freedom, so I love Freedom. But here's the thing that blows my mind. You have Dan Matzuk and Gene Matzuk both teaching in Freedom. How in the world did they never become one of them a football coach? And Rochester gets them, and they go on to do incredible things.
And what was even more ironic was Gene was my high school basketball coach. So he coached high school basketball at Freedom.
Did he?
He did. He was my high school coach, but he never coached football there. Yeah.
So, when you think about New Brighton now, and you think about Freedom in basketball, and they've never really had, I mean, it's been a long time since New Brighton or Freedom, not even in, I think, the last 20, 30 years, obviously, but what's going on? Look what Sean has done in Rochester, because Rochester, gentlemen, as you know, perennially, the Matzuks have done everything in football, but I never could figure out why I couldn't translate into basketball, but Sean seems to have them headed in the right direction. You first, and then we'll say goodnight. Go ahead.
Well, actually, Sean was with me at Rochester for a while.
I didn't know that.
And we had made the playoffs, and the biggest thing that changed the culture there was we allowed our guys to go weightlift. Prior to me being there was a battle, weightlifting, basketball, weightlifting. Why can't you do both? Why can't you? And that was with Derek Moy and that crew. So I think Sean has got a great relationship with Gene, and Gene gives him some summertime. Sean gives him the weightlifting.
Well, you know what needs to happen at these schools, and I'm just going to be blunt, because I have done this for decades, and over the last couple of years I've been out doing all these videos just to promote, because I love sports and because of what we're doing with AHN. There's such a difference between classes when it comes to facilities. I'm just going to say this, Rochester, the success that they've had, they need a new field house. They need certain things. I mean, to be able to just continue to move along through life. I was up with the coach up in Freedom recently. You need better facilities. These are great school districts, and I know the money is tight. We just talked about this on the radio, $4.5 billion needed to fund schools next year. This is our greatest asset. And what you've been able to do here at Penn State Beaver with these athletes, they can come here and get an affordable education and a college degree like my kids, and get out in the workforce and start doing big things right from the jump and not have to worry about paying $1 gazillion back to the school. So it can work. But wouldn't you both agree the facilities in some of these smaller schools, especially 1A and 2A, talking about our hometown schools that we love, it's got to get better, Coach.
Yeah, 100%. You know, the youth, and it goes back to, you know, the youth, that is our investment. You know, they're the future of everything in the United States. You know, they're our future workers, teachers, doctors. You know, we got to provide for them. You know, whether it's, you know, in the classroom, whether it's on the court, you know, on the field, whatever. But, you know, you do see, you know, some of these schools, and I mean, you look at Aliquippa, obviously they just got their big upgrade, and, you know, what they've been able to do, you know, with that small school is just phenomenal, you know, and, you know, give credit to the coaches and the teachers and everything there for, you know, trying to keep the kids' head above waters and, you know, provide for them what they can. You know, just imagine what they could accomplish if they had facilities and everything that they needed. And that goes for all the schools, you know. Budgets are tight, you know, we get that, but, you know, I think, you know, we lose focus sometimes of, you know, what's most important, and I think it's our youth. I mean, I got my 9-year-old, 6-year-old running around here. You know, I just think about their future. You know, we gotta provide for them and give them what's best.
Listen, I can't thank you enough. It's been a real joy. You're a young man with a bright future, and you got Yoda over here to teach you and show you the way. I love Billy Mahan. Billy, just close out on that as far as facilities. Look, back when we were there, I mean, there was not even such a thing as Gatorade or a power bar, but it's different now. And you know what? I'm not asking for the world, but there are just certain things that I, as a fan and a supporter of these wonderful schools, I don't know if you remember Butch Santacola. Butch was with the PSEA. I love the guy. We would always talk about parity and how it needs to be the same for the young child growing up in the old River Milltown community as opposed to the suburbs. There's just got to be a happy medium. And I think if we want to matriculate and have more opportunities for these student athletes to go to the next level, we just have to have better facilities. And some of the places we talked about tonight are definitely good examples.
This is probably a very unpopular opinion.
It's okay.
But not necessarily academically, because I think they are sharing classes.
Right.
But I think there has to be some mergers athletically. The numbers just aren't there to support the standards that we're looking to achieve. So maybe a regional basketball team combining 3 towns that are struggling. I mean, we go to recruit and we have to check the schedule because the JV games and a lot of the girls' games are canceled because of lack of numbers.
That's really sad. You know what I found out tonight when I was in Rochester? I never knew this, you being from Freedom. One thing Freedom has had a lot of success at is wrestling, off and on throughout the years. And that's another one of my all-time favorite sports. When we did the television show at Rhino, I made them go out and cover everything. Lacrosse, wrestling, baseball, tennis, golf, all of it. But they've actually combined wrestling. I think Rochester and Freedom are actually wrestling together. So, you know what, you may be onto something.
New Brighton and Beaver Falls with the swimming.
I just saw that.
Yes.
I didn't even know Beaver Falls had a pool.
Nor did I.
So good. I feel pretty good about that. All right. Best basketball memory, New Brighton. Give me something to go home on tonight.
Oh, it has to be.
At that game?
Down 7 at Stowe Rocks. We get fouled.
I knew it.
And you see it now on Twitter all the time. We cross-screened and thinking that we were going to get Gabe. It went right to Dave Yaros, who put it in. We hit a hoop and we're down 2, and Vaughn Mosley throws a half-court pass to Gabe Jackson, who just turns and buries it. And Stowe Rocks was great at that point.
There's another great name from the past, Vaughn Mosley.
Yeah.
Man, good stuff. Billy Mahan, Coach Moore, Penn State. When do you play next year?
We are back 27th, I think, January 27th, that's Saturday.
It must be kind of neat going to these little branch campuses.
It
In
is.
the middle of winter, going into these gyms. It must be a lot of fun, man.
It is.
And a little plug, if you don't mind. The 27th, anybody comes out, we are doing a fundraiser for the Beaver County Humane Society. So you bring in, bring in anything for Beaver County Humane Society. I think you get a free hot dog, but then all the donations are going up there. So
Great facility out there on Broadhead Road. We're always promoting them, and even in Coons Market as well too. So for Coach Moore, Coach Mahan, it's your Pratt Pack, and I have one more stop tonight. The Corner Grill.
There you go.
What do you think about that Corner Grill?
It's been there forever.
Do you have any idea who actually started the Corner Grill?
Oh, heavens no.
I'm gonna hopefully find that out tonight. My grandmother lived at the end of that block, and man, I Cradle's little penny candy store. Spent a lot of time there. I was telling my audience earlier today, Coach, my grandmother would say, "Now you stay here." We were going to bingo, either at the Legion or McDaniel Fire Hall, and she would say, "I'm gonna get something. I'll be right out." And even at 10 years of age, I used to go, wonder what's going on in that corner grill. I always wanted to go into that corner grill. All right, Penn State, the women up here at the branch campus, Beaver County, absolutely love what they do. And thank you for the quality education for my two children, Robbie and Eva. And they are superstars because of this place. Good night. We'll see you in a little bit at the corner grill.